levels, and we go through each of our students and their goals, and we talk with the general education teachers about where they are, what we're doing in small group, what can we help them with in the general education classroom so they can carry over these skills into the gen ed classroom. And just looking at each student individually and making sure that they're supported as much as possible so that they can get as much out of the general education classroom as they can. We also group based on student needs and skills, so not necessarily grade level, which is more difficult when it comes to scheduling, but that's where we've seen the most growth is when we group them based on skill level and not grade level.
One of the other things that was new to us this year is STAR Phonics, which is another assessment program for basically phonics for the students working on their phonics skills. And we've done that. We did it in the fall, and then we did it again in the winter, and made some adjustments in our groups due to that. We do weekly progress monitoring of every one of the students on our caseloads. And then the two curriculums that were new to us this year were Lively Letters for kindergartners, and the growth that the kindergartners made with Lively Letters was off the charts. It's like they picked up their letters and their sounds so quickly and loved it. It was super engaging for them. They loved it. And then later on in the year, we started using UFLI, which is from Florida, and that really, I always think of one student in particular who was at the time a first grader and just wasn't making progress. I had her in the same group with my kindergartners and wasn't making progress. And I started using the UFLI, and all of a sudden she could sound out words. So great, we appreciate them being able to use some of the curriculum that have been given to us that are newer things.
So this is just a wide variety of systems that we've implemented with the help of Sarah Heckel and her team as well. But I think we are ultimately thinking about our special education students as general education students first, and creating that collaborative experience so we all know what their goals are, what can they be working on in Tier 1 instruction as well. This is just a snapshot of what we're going to continue to work on as we go into the next year. I'm excited. We have our some data dive days next week. We're going to continue to refine our goal and look at some of our building-wide school improvement goals from last year. But we will have 18 educators in language training this year, and we're going to continue to look and align our instruction with some benchmark advanced assessments and how our students performing on that and how they performed on MCAs. And we're going to work on some standards alignment with math and some other expectations around behavior. So we'll refine all these goals next week once our team gets together and what we'll be focusing on. That's all we have for you guys. Any questions for us?
One quick question. So the resources that you said were provided to the special ed program, like the STAR Phonics and Lively Letters, is that just for special ed use, or is that used in general ed?
Yeah, right now it is. There are some other programs too that are that we use, like our Title I programming, but right now it's just for the Tier 3s.
So what do you attribute? Those are just amazing statistics out there. Congratulations on all the hard work. What do you attribute it to? I mean, besides your amazing staff and
they're hard work.
The students that work hard.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we went through that list, but it's just the collaboration and constantly looking at the student data. I mean, we progress monitor them every Wednesday. They're progress monitoring days. So we look to see, did they make progress? Did they not make progress? If they didn't make progress, why? And we're trying something new or different, or honing in on a specific skill in order to see that growth. Because we have to know where they are to figure out where we're going next. Yeah.
Right, and I just think that's excellent when we have that collaboration with general ed. So both sides can work together for the benefit of the student. Thank you.
I would, the question I would have is, I mean, the work you're doing, I think it's just really important. How does your building, how is the facility supporting that work? Right? You feel like you have the space you need, yeah.
Like logistical space?
Well, I mean, are you able to do that? Does the building support that kind of work?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we are all over the building all the time, but like, that's why we travel on Tuesday mornings, or they travel, and then I'm in different places as well. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, well, thanks for coming out and presenting.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it. All right, positive happening. You want to start?
I just have one quick one that was so fun. The marching band played in the stadium, and that was just an awesome concert. The marching band directors gave little shout outs and little bios about their students, and it was just really well attended. It was kind of a rainy, cool night, but it was a really fabulous. And it was fun to just have that in the stadium. Just sounded excellent.
Anyone else?
Well, I believe that they came and visited while I was absent, but I was at the state skeet tournament, and how much fun to watch our kids take first place in the state. And have my son shoot on that team was great. It was actually a tie overall for first place, and then it goes to the highest shooter, and we had the highest shooter in the tournament, or out of the two teams, with a 98, so pretty impressive out of 100. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Great.
All right. Reports, workshops, and conferences, anything?
Well, I just want to mention that summer seminar, everybody got their journal, that starts this Sunday. It's got a great conference, effective leadership for student success. I'll be there on Sunday for the board of directors meeting at 1 o'clock, and then for the early bird, so maybe I'll see some of you on Monday if anybody can attend.
Great. And 9/16, advertising.
I have no report, we meet next week.
Okay. And City of Forest Lake.
I do not have a report either.
All right, are there any items 7.1 through 7.4 that people would like pulled from the consent agenda? 7.1, please. All right, do we have a motion?
7.3, please.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve 7.2 and 7.4?
Oh, wait, no, sorry, never mind, it's on a different spot.
Okay, so we have not pulled 7.2.
No.
Okay.
8, thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve 7.2, 3, and 4? So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 7.1.
So one minor update, 7.1, for the minutes on 6/27, Member Tyson is listed as present and absent. And I believe Member Tyson was absent, but Member Haglund was present in that meeting. So I would move that we approve that with that minor change.
All right.
And
Did
what
you
was
get
the
that?
date? Yes.
6/27.
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
All right, any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, action items. 8.1, donations.
All right, we have donations. Wow, this is a big one. A $10,881.05 donation from the Forest Lake Girls Softball Booster Club for the 23-24 softball coaches. We have a $1,500 donation from the Hallberg Family Foundation for the Forest Lake Community Ed Forest Lake Marching Band. A $1,185.28 donation from the Scandia Marine Lions for Scandia Elementary 3rd grade dictionaries. We have a $678 donation from the Knights of Columbus for Forest Lake Area School Community Education Link Program, Adults with Disabilities. We have a $500 donation from Alan and Kathy Bakke for the Community Education Program, Forest Lake Marching Band. We have a $400 donation, First State Bank of Wyoming, Forest Lake Area Schools Supporting Families in Need. A $400 donation from the Music Connection from Charlie Ullman, Forest Lake Area Schools Community Education Forest Lake Marching Band, and a $300 donation from the American Legion Post number 225, Forest Lake Community Education, Forest Lake Marching Band Youth and Music Trip, for a total donations of $15,844.30, and I move we accept.
Second. Any discussion?
I would just like to say thank you to the community yet again, as they always continue to impress us with their large and generous donations, and especially the Hallberg Family Foundation, who is consistently on this sheet and consistently donating to the Forest Lake area schools.
Absolutely.
Well said, yes. Well said.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. All right, 8.2, Forest Lake Area Schools staff retirement notices. Agenda item 8.2, our retirements are Lynn Fernstall Zamzow, QComp coordinator, 38 years. Christy Gudwardson, 30 years of service, secondary administrative assistant. Renee Kellerhus, special education SAC paraprofessional at Forest View Elementary, 35 years. Pam Schultze, Spanish teacher at the Forest Lake Area High School, 38 years of service. And Margaret Slagle, health office assistant at Columbus Elementary School, 1 year of service. Sherry Wise, special education paraprofessional at the STEP program, 10 years of service. And that adds up to 152 years of service. And with that, I make a motion to approve our retirement notices. Second. Any further discussion?
I just want to give a big commend and thank you to all of those retirees and wish them well, but especially to Renee Kellerhus, 35 years as a paraprofessional. I worked with her a long time ago in the title program and in the ECSE, and she was served as a union rep for many years, so just an incredible woman. So I wish her just a fabulous retirement. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And one thing I would like to add is that it's like, when I see these lists, I often see people who are my neighbor, and I think that's just a really nice thing to see is how, you know, our community is part of this district, you know, a core part of the staff of this district. So with that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Resolution relating to the general obligation facilities maintenance bond series 2025A, stating official intent to proceed with and authorizing the issuance and sale thereof and providing for credit enhancement with respect thereto. Director Renberg?
Thank you very much. I know, long introduction. Might feel a little bit like Groundhog's Day. We do this every 2 years since we've become a 1A district to be able to sell these bonds. So again, we do part levy, part bonds for our construction projects. And so it's just that annual time of year when we go ahead and work with Ehlers to determine what that amount is that we're able to do for LTFM bonding and then put it in front of you. So with that, an administration would recommend approval.
Move to approve?
Second. Discussion?
Would you mind just giving a quick, just a little snapshot into for our new board members about how we finally made it into that realm of 1A?
Yeah, so it's based on your square footage and then your age of your buildings. And so there's a formula that is part of the legislation that allows districts to get above that cap. So LTFM is capped at $380 per pupil. And when you reach the magic number that's in the legislation, then you're able to do that. There's only 28 districts in the entire state that qualify for this. And it went into our decision making when we did the CLC building to be able to renovate that and how much we took down and removed the square footage of that. So we're always considering that status because it allows us to upkeep our building, which was part of what we worked on in the 2015 bond.
We used to say a lot of prayers on reaching that
Correct.
that threshold, so thank you for that.
I think it's important to note that before we reached it, then we really used to say a lot of things about buildings that needed
Duct
help.
tape and paper clips.
And things that we couldn't repair when we needed to repair them because we didn't have the money to do it. And so,
Exactly.
a certain roof over there in Lino Lakes,
In the CLC.
for a long time in the CLC, that we just hoped made it through another
I
year.
was going with the positive.
Yes.
I like that perspective.
Well, I think it's important to note so that we maintain that, so that we can continue to maintain
So
going forward.
important.
Well, it was very difficult for the custodians to ever even get parts. I remember that was a huge thing, especially at Forest Lake Elementary. Everything was so old, they were struggling to get parts.
We would often get them from other school districts.
Yeah, we'd have to.
Yeah, who were
hopefully find
discarding
them.
theirs because
Right,
they were
because
renovating.
getting new stuff and
we would
got
get
old,
parts.
so, yeah, we never want to come and, we're never gonna lose that.
Never.
So, we're really aware.
It is critical to
It
keep
is.
up our buildings.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, for my part, I think that it's important for the public to kind of see and understand that, like, I'm currently working on my garage. I built it 25 years ago. I need to do repairs now to ensure that its value is maintained. And this school district is owned by the public in this district. And this money is critical for protecting their investment that they have put into, because the public has built all these buildings, and this is an important part of protecting their investment. So, if there's no further discussion, can we please take a roll call?
Member Tyson?
Aye.
Member Christensen votes aye. Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Hageman?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Evelyn?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
All right. 9, new business. First reading of the proposal to include all 6th grade students at Forest Lake Area Middle School and to consolidate Forest Lake Elementary School and Forest View Elementary School for the 2025-2026 school year. And just kind of an introduction. We've been, as a board, we've been concerned about changes in demographics, and we wanted to try to adjust and keep our schools modern, keep them effective. And so we tasked the administration with putting together a proposal that would help us in certain ways. And tonight, Director Jacobson is going to talk about it.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Chair Raphael and members of the board. And before I get started and diving into this topic, I want to just also offer my deep appreciation and congratulations to the Lino Lakes team. They have done some really amazing work with our kids out there. You know, when you think about that, our elementary schools are often the first places where students who have disabilities or struggle with learning, we catch them there and then we build them up. And we have kids that move through our system and continue into special education at the secondary schools and through high school. And to see that they're leveraging of best practice, they're focusing on each individual kid, looking at data, and to exit that many students from services. And the criteria to exit students is incredibly high, as Principal Stratton said. So I think that is really a job well done by her and her team out there at Lino Lakes. So we're going to start by reviewing some of the learning and discussion that we did during the May 16th school board meeting and the June 13th school board workshop. Some of the questions that were asked during those discussions and the direction that was given to us by this board, by the board here, and getting ready for tonight. Before I do, I just wanted to say that I know that Dr. Massey really was hoping to be here tonight and to lead this discussion and to participate in it as well, but he just simply isn't able to do so due to very understandable reasons. And so I guess you're stuck with me.
And Dr. Jacobson, before you go to talk, remember this is the first reading, so it's all about hearing the presentation and asking questions and figuring out what it's all about.
Absolutely, thank you. So our communities have counted on us as a school district to provide quality education for our students for many years. And unique to us is that we not only serve Forest Lake community, but a number of other great communities that make up our school district. And this is a characteristic of our school district that, quite honestly, we are very proud of. At one point across these communities, we had a larger number of students than we have today. And tonight we're going to present some information on how we can expand and in our research improve upon the experiences that we have across our system, including the preservation of one of I think our district's biggest assets, which is our community-based schools. For a little context, this is what we look like today. We have 7 wonderful elementary schools, 3 secondary schools, and a STEP program who serve the number of students that you see on the screen there. And efficiency in utilizing financial resources is always critical in public education. And when districts begin to see enrollment in a building drop below between 350 to 400 students, we see that level of efficiency begin to wane in that particular school. The placement of the schools in our district was made decades ago. We've been around as a school district for many years. And when those schools were placed there, they met the enrollment needs of our district at that time. But in the intervening decades, population trends have changed, and at times, school districts like ours need to change with them. We're seeing a trend in declining enrollment across our district. This mirrors a trend that we're seeing across Minnesota and the nation for that matter. The total number of people who live in our area isn't necessarily declining, our total Forest Lake area population. But in large part, that's due to people who are simply living longer than they once did. Instead, what we're observing is the number of households that have children and the number of children that adults are having has declined in recent years. Some may notice new development happening throughout the district, that is for sure. But new homes don't necessarily bring the same number of students that they have in the past. And in schools where children are our clientele, and largely our funding is based on those students, this is a trend that we need to track as a school district. We're also seeing changes in migration rate of families that is affecting Minnesota schools and school districts, ours included. With young adults moving into Minnesota at a lower rate than they have in years past, this is resulting in fewer students in schools like ours and across Minnesota. All of these factors are impacting the number of students who call our district theirs. This chart displays our district enrollment overall and by grade level over the past 10 years. And as you can see, we are simply enrolling fewer students in kindergarten each year than we are graduating. And as these smaller cohorts of students move through our elementary schools and into our secondary school system, our overall enrollment as a school district is declining, it's going down. Meaning we have more capacity across our school district spaces than what is arguably needed. To dig deeply into these trends, our district partnered with a former state demographer, Dr. Hazel Reinhardt, to analyze our attendance trends in order to develop accurate enrollment projections for the future. And I think we all know predicting the future is always a bit tricky, but Dr. Reinhardt has a long history in doing this work, so her projections are about as accurate as a district like ours could hope to find. These projections are important as they help us make determinations today that put the district in a good position in years to come. This chart represents 4 different projections based on factors related to high or low enrollment in kindergarten with some reasonable parameters, as well as high or low levels of migration, also within parameters that we could reasonably expect based on trends. This demonstrates that based on these factors, our district at best can expect our enrollment to stay about the same in the years to come, or 3 of the models have us slowly declining in enrollment. These enrollment projections, using those same considerations, are different based on the attendance zone or part of our school district each of our elementary schools represent or support. Using these methodologies, you can see that we can expect to see our growth in the future primarily happen on the west side of our district, or the western parts of our district. And as you move from west to east across our district, growth begins to look like declines in enrollment. Even with the most optimistic view, what we're seeing, according to our demographer, is that Forest Lake Elementary and Scandia are projected to serve fewer than 250 students in the next 5 years. So considering that background, we believe the district is entering a time to reimagine how we best serve our communities, and in particular, its students today and tomorrow. In education, our task is to prepare kids for the future. we are at a point where we need to also make some decisions on how to best prepare our district for its future and maintain our capacity to best serve students. As we do this, we should remain focused on what's critically important. This includes maintaining a constant determination to raise the bar on student achievement. No plan that we would consider would involve us doing anything but doubling down on that commitment. Secondly, we want to continue to grow and expand opportunities for students. In a moment, we will share the rough outline of plans and how we think we can accomplish that going forward. As always, we want to work to ensure that we are best meeting the developmental needs of students and serving a school system that leverages the latest research on what that looks like. And certainly, throughout, if we can find ways to use our finite resources more efficiently, then we should certainly evaluate that possibility. Just as in private industry, public schools need to also consider how to use their financial resources to create the best possible experience for our clients. And for us, those clients are our district's most precious assets, our youth. With these principles guiding our work and the data I just shared, we would propose the board look at reconfiguring our district to shift 6th grade to the middle school in the future. We have a sought-after middle school program here in Forest Lake, one that other districts have taken note of and attempted to model. And with enrollment trending the direction it has, we see a new opportunity to include 6th grade in that building. Jason Miller, the principal at the middle school, is here tonight to share some of his ideas and, quite honestly, his excitement about the notion of bringing 6th grade over and making it part of the middle school experience. Secondly, at the same time, we would look to transition 6th graders from across the district into the middle school. We would also propose consolidating Forest Lake Elementary and Forest View Elementary into one pre-K through grade 5 elementary school at Forest View. Both of these proposals for the board to consider are not for this fall. They're for a year from now, for the 2025-2026 school year. I will share that our district is one of few that still has 6th grade in the elementary schools. Placing it there has served us well for many years, but new trends in education have given us a series of good reasons to look into moving it to our middle school. This includes changes at the state level in regards to how the standards and the learning objectives are written for 6th grade. Those standards and objectives are different than those in Minnesota for grades 7 and 8, but written very similarly and in such a way that align themselves nicely with a secondary model. Additionally, there are other opportunities related to how we set up the school day that prepares the students really well in a middle school concept for high school and beyond, as well as enhancements that we can make to the arts and elective gateway experiences that we can create in a comprehensive 6th through 8th grade middle school model that spans the middle school experience over 3 years rather than 2 as it currently is. And so I'm not going to steal any of his thunder, but Mr. Miller, the principal here at the middle school, is here to share some exciting opportunities regarding a shift like this and what it would create for our 6th grade students. So I'm going to invite Jason Miller up here.
Thank you, Director Jacobson and President Raphael, members of the board. Thanks for having us this evening. When we think about that, the middle school program here in Forest Lake, and as JP kind of alluded to, something that I'm very excited about because I'm truly a middle school person at heart, and our staff is as well. We know that we have an amazing program for our community and for our students, and it's something that we know that we can offer to our 6th grade students and increase their experiences here in Forest Lake. At the middle school, we really think about what sets us apart, what makes us unique, and what we can offer to our 6th grade students. And that is the strategies, the work that we do as a staff to inspire learning for our students in each and every one of those. And we do that through 3 core pillars. the connectedness that we develop with our students, the personalized experiences that we create, and the strong staff efficacy as well. That guy's is working. 2 years ago, or actually about 3 years ago, we're entering our 3rd year of our middle level redesigned course of study. Many of you remember that process that was led a few years ago. Our course of study is really kind of founded and grounded in 2 kind of core principles. One of those is that we're offering gateway experiences. Mr. Jacobson had alluded to those just a minute ago, but those 6 gateway experiences that we offer at the high school, guaranteeing experiences for our students in each and every one of those at the middle school as well. And in addition to that, we stress design thinking, especially within our gateway experiences. At the middle school, we have begun using something called the CREATE process, which we leveraged out of our secondary visual arts department as language that really speaks to us in terms of what design thinking looks like. So for those of you that aren't familiar, the current Forest Lake area middle school course of study is a really, I think, an exciting set of experiences that we've designed for our students. Our students, of course, take their 4 core areas each and every day of the school year: math, English, science, and social studies. In addition, as you can see on the board, they are offered 3 of the 6 different gateway courses in 7th grade, and then also 3 in 8th grade. Deliberately providing those experiences for our students to begin to test what they're interested in, to explore those different areas and make really informed decisions as they transition to the high school about areas they want to invest further in. In addition to that, we offer a number of different opportunities through world language, 21st century communication, our family and consumer science courses, visual arts, music, as well as Phy Ed and health, and elective opportunities for our students to experience as they transition into 8th grade. One of the things we really pride ourselves on is that we take a building of about 930 students, as you saw in Mr. Jacobson's slides, and make that building feel small and community-based and oriented for our students. And that's something that, again, is important to us. It's core to our work, and it's something that we would continue to leverage moving forward. Our teaming and our house models aligned with our school counseling program is really, again, a cornerstone to making that really effective and making that work. In addition to what we talked about in our course of study, the advisory program that we offer our students each and every day, as well as the numerous clubs and activities, are, again, what really sets our middle school apart from those around us. So thinking about what does it mean to have a 6th through 8th grade experience for our students here in Forest Lake? When I think about what sets effective 6th grade experiences apart or middle school experiences apart, it's around the quality of the experiences in the classroom, the quality of instruction, and it's about the connections and the relationships that are built to support those students during this critical time in their life. We are planning to offer, again, a robust and comprehensive middle level curriculum for our students, taking what has already been described as a successful program and being able to offer an expansion to that over the course of 3 years, increasing academic, exploratory, and co-curricular opportunities for our students. Our 6th grade experience is amazing as it is, and we feel that at the middle school, we can continue to expand what's already a really amazing experience for kids. Subjects that are taught by disciplinary specialists, something that I think can be a real advantage in those areas around, say, science, industrial technology, and the media arts, and others. We also know that as, again, Mr. Jacobson had alluded to, the developmentally appropriate nature of having our 6th graders in the building and that opportunity that it affords us as we think about that important transition from 5th grade to 6th grade, ultimately for those young adolescents to begin to transition eventually to the high school, to help support in the development of that agency around being sort of that point person, that leadership in their role as their learner. We often support families as they enter into middle school around the need and the connection between school and home. But we also want to build the capacity of our students, again, to be agents of their learning as they transition to the high school, that they have their own self-efficacy, they know they can do great and amazing things. In addition to those kind of core principles, other considerations and other opportunities that we wanted to highlight, some have already sort of been mentioned, but it's really important for us in this process to preserve some of the core components of our model, the career gateway experiences and the overall course of study that we have on offer currently. We want to maintain that as something that we can continue to leverage for all of our students. It's important for us to maintain the core middle level model. When we talk about a middle level experience, we talk about, of course, the experiences in the classroom, but we talk about connections, we talk about relationships, we talk about the academic support that can happen through an advisory program, through our teaming and house model. All of those systems are something that, again, we really need to maintain throughout this process. There's also opportunities to expand instructional time within content areas. I highlight science and social studies on this particular slide, but when students are with us in 6th grade versus at the elementaries in their current model, there's just additional time as those students have both of those courses, for example, each and every day over the course of the entire school year. Again, Mr. Jacobson already had mentioned the banning of those 6th and 8th grade standards and why that's important for us to be able to address those particular academic needs. 2 versus 3-year course sequencing. One of the challenges that we face as a 2-year middle level experience for students is when we think about that course of study and how those classes are sequenced. Within 2 years, you're limited in terms of the creativity we can have or how we can sequence those to sort of scaffold experiences from one to the next. Thinking over the course of a 3-year experience, we can do a better job of being able to align those experiences and offer more for students. We also know that in this model, we're going to be continuing to leverage opportunities for expansion within the arts and what that will look like for our students in addition to what they already have. And also in this model, expanded academic opportunities. You know, we think about in a lot of our elementary buildings, especially when you are running 2 sections in a particular elementary building, it can be a challenge to be able to offer accelerated or honors levels experiences to those students that are ready to take on those challenges or sometimes experiences that need more support. We know that at our building, when we have that economies of scale, we can begin to offer more of those opportunities, including in 6th grade, in the areas of English and the areas of mathematics, to really support those students that are ready to take on those advanced challenges. And as some of our members of our community have already highlighted, we know that being able to think about expanding the time that the students are in our building, being able to make the middle school more of a home. Right now, we always feel like they're either new to us or they're getting ready to transition to the high school. Whereas now, for having students for 3 years, the opportunities to develop leadership capacity for our students, the opportunities to build more connections and relationships, the community that we can begin to develop where they have that sense of ownership around the building and making the impact on the school community as well as the community at large. As a middle level guy, it's not lost on me, especially when I talk to our rookie families, the ones that it's the first time they're going to have a middle level enter our system. This is a significant transition for our families and for our students. Whether that transition happens between 6th and 7th grade or it happens between 5th and 6th. And that's an important component and also something that needs to be really deeply considered as we navigate this particular change in transition. So as I mentioned already, teaming in the house model are some of the great ways that we do that, but we also offer a number of different experiences through our We Are Rangers Week and our web program, which could expand to 6th grade, now offering a 7th grade experience when we look at our Courage Retreat, for example, what we've done with WIN or Flex Time this year, and what we want to continue to do to support interventions and to support additional things that kids need. Our school counseling model as well. And just again, those increased opportunities throughout the school day for students to explore their passions and their interests, whether through an academic experience or something that's more co-curricular. We know that we can do a lot of great things for our 6th grade students as we've done for our 7th and 8th grade students. We think also about just the transition to the building. We're already thinking ahead about what that transition and support for families will begin to look like, to personalize that experience throughout the course of this winter and spring, and over the course of as we enter into the next school year. So as you tasked us to investigate this as a feasible option, and we do strongly believe that it is. One question that sometimes always comes up is, well, does it fit? And I would say the answer to that question is yes. The degree to which the space and how we would use the space within the middle school obviously varies depending on the kind of overall model and organizational model and instructional model that we would design or create. But as we've talked about, maintaining the small school feel is really critical to this. Referencing around it, we have specialized spaces that we have in limited use, so we would have to, again, leverage that capacity for those to be able to effectively support our students, music, phy-ed, science, facts, and so on and so forth. And it's also a consideration about the transitions that we have during the day, whether that's within our cafeteria to support lunch and getting our students fed, or just movement throughout the building from one area to the next as they might transition to those new and exciting experiences. With all those things taken into considerations and the numerous iterations of designs that we have run through to kind of test for capacity and logistics and if that would fit, I would again say that we're in a good position to be able to support that transition to the new level.
So clearly you can see that Principal Miller has got some really good ideas, a lot of detail put into this. We don't have all the different plans and everything worked out just yet, but there would be certainly a process that we would go forward with that should the board approve this proposal. And Mr. Miller and educators from both the middle school and upper elementary would certainly be a part of what that work would look like and putting greater detail to the big bucket ideas or the concepts that Mr. Miller outlined here, but really some really exciting possibilities in front of us in terms of bringing or welcoming sixth grade into what is already a really great building, and an eye on making those middle level years some of the best a student can have in the area. And as you can see, when evaluating this notion how we can best organize our K-5 students into our elementary buildings, we also had some guiding principles that we use to keep it and drive this work. The first is that we are a district that serves many distinct communities, like I mentioned earlier, and we have great community-based schools. We believe that we need a plan that maintains and preserves that. From there, we did a deep analysis on how we are currently using all of our buildings and classroom spaces, looking for a model that increases efficiency while avoiding any scenario in which a building or a classroom feels too full. We're not interested in that at all. Lastly, we see an opportunity to do this with consolidating Forest Lake into Forest View, or consolidating those two buildings together and evaluating new opportunities and how to leverage the Forest Lake Elementary, that building, differently in years to come. Aiding us in this work has been a longtime partner in Kraus Anderson, who has worked with our district for many years and is incredibly familiar with our facilities. And Alex from Kraus Anderson is here to talk a little bit about the different options for reshaping our district and the considerations and factors that went into the proposal that you are seeing here tonight. So I'm going to hand it off to Alex and maybe Chrissy Renberg for a little bit to share some of the thoughts and research that they did.
All right, well, thank you again for giving Kraus Anderson the opportunity to look at your buildings and just your overall capacity study. So, really we were tasked at looking at a couple of options, and it really narrowed it down to 3, and that was the Forest Lake moving into Forest View. We looked at then the flip side, could all the students move into Forest Lake schools? And then we looked at moving both Forest Lake and Forest View into the education center. I'll definitely spend more time on our first option, as that's kind of the one we're proposing and driving for. But a couple key factors here. We did look up into the STEP building. It was our understanding that that building was at capacity and functioning well, so kind of left that there. One thing with Forest Lake, if we were to take it offline and mothball that building, that is an easier building to be able to take offline. It has newer controls for the HVAC system, so definitely something that you can monitor offline. And so that just seemed like the better building when we were talking with the facilities team. Another thing to note is on paper, both buildings look like similar square footages, but really there is a large courtyard that was actually infilled into a mechanical room. So that's about 30,000 square feet. That's really not usable space for classrooms and is really dedicated to mechanical systems. So if we were to propose to move into Forest Lake, from looking at the capacity in the classrooms you have in that space, you would need a 12,000 square foot classroom addition. So really that would be 7 classrooms, 2 bedrooms, and you would also need additional bathrooms to fit that many more students. So that would be about an $8 to $8.5 million cost, which again would go more towards a bond. Then we looked at the Ed Center. That actually is at capacity, and the curriculum structure seems to be working well in that space. Definitely with the programs that you have in there, you have a whole pre-K wing that's really dedicated to those smaller students. You have classrooms that have already been retrofitted for that in smaller facilities. So if we were looking at that space, it would have been more the ALC part of that building. So that would essentially be swapping two different programs and curriculum needs in both buildings, resulting in renovation costs in both spaces. When you're looking at in the high school level, moving them into an elementary school, a big part of that would be the science classrooms, trenching in water, plumbing for gas, and then gas as well. So again, that was looking more into like the $9 million range when you're looking at just a higher level of renovation costs. So those were kind of the three options, and a little bit more background of how we looked at the capacity study. So you'll see on this chart here, we have your total enrollment from pre-K to 5th grade. Again, I should note on this chart, we were not including the middle school in this, as we were listening before. So we have your total enrollment, and then what your goals are to have per classroom size. So that got us to kind of our overall counts of what you would need per classroom section. So I'm a little more of a visual person, so aside from the graph here, this is how we got to it. So we took the floor plan, a forest view. Again, I should note, this is not exactly where the classrooms would go, but for the sake of the study, just making sure you had the classroom spaces. This is what we did here. So to walk you through the building a little bit, for kindergarten and pre-K, we left those buildings where they are. Those are the pink highlighted areas. That's where they are in the space now. They have the bathrooms in those classrooms, so you wouldn't have to add any bathrooms there. And if you work your way around through the building, we have grade 1 in the green, and 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th moving throughout the building. And then we had the sped rooms. There would need to be at least 4 sped rooms. Right now, you're using full classrooms for for sped, when really a lot of those have been smaller group settings and didn't necessarily have a need for large classrooms. So we had the ability to use a couple offices that were not utilized and move a sped room into there. You'll still be able to have 2 full-size rooms, and then the potential in the green on the bottom would be to be able to split that room in half to have that smaller group setting. You'll see it's harder to tell, but there are 2 flex rooms in a very light blue. That really gives you the ability of, as years change, say 3rd grade has another section, you can easily use that flex room as needed, as classroom sizes could change throughout the years. And then we also took a look at your existing cafeteria and kitchen sizes. Is that going to be able to handle more students coming through that space, as well as your bathrooms? Or do those counts check out with both students? And it did from looking at it. And another thing I'd want to note too is this building used to serve 550 students, and that's what we're proposing would be moving into this space now. So really, when looking at this, I talked through the other options of the districts. This one was really a 0 cost to the district. This is something where you could move Forest Lake into this building, and it would be a little more of a seamless transition, at least from the construction standpoint. And I think that's it, yeah.
And the map that you just saw there, again, that's just a rendering or a concept of whether can it fit, and we believe that it can. It isn't necessarily the precise location of where those each of those grade levels and classrooms would necessarily be placed. Certainly there would be work that Scott Ernest and his team would need to do in order to make sure that the ultimate plan has staff input and it really works for their building. So I would just put that out there and make sure that is, certainly we've got some work to do in front of us. Again, should the board give us this direction. Coming out of June 13th, we had a lot of homework to do, and hopefully all this information gives you a sense of the research and the many considerations that went into this proposal, a proposal that we believe strongly increases opportunities and learning experiences for students while allowing us to better fit ourselves into our classrooms and our other educational spaces going forward. We also believe that there may be a need for us to look at our district boundaries in the future. If you think back to the slide in which I shared where growth is and isn't happening in our school district, at some point we might need to think about, do we need to rethink those boundaries, and whether we need to move those a little bit in such a way that all of our elementary school enrollment are at that kind of that sweet spot for staffing and building utilization, and we feel like that work will most likely need to be done in the future. Also, as talked about earlier and in our listening session, the board is going to be tasked with looking at our current operating referendum and determining from a leadership standpoint what's the best strategy to move forward for for renewal and possible or potential expansion on that, so that we have the resources necessary to sustain our trajectory and meeting the needs of our students. What you can see here is a summary of our timeline, drawing us back to in June when we had our board work session. Actually, this started, like I mentioned earlier, as early as May when we listened to Hazel Reinhardt present our enrollment projections, and that being incredibly informative as we do this work. Laying out, just where this analysis is and the conversations that began, and all the way through a vote on this proposal, which we envision taking place in October, on October 3rd. Now, typically, as a board, we have a first reading and a second reading and a vote in consecutive months, but we felt from a leadership standpoint that it was necessary to expand this out over a longer period of time for a number of reasons. One, that this being a time of the year where families are getting end of the year, into summer vacations in, they're gearing their young athletes up for fall sports, getting ready for school, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't make the mistake of following a timeline that caught people by surprise. So creating an opportunity for our building principals and others to work with our community and staff in having conversations starting in August through September, and then ultimately bringing this back before the board for a vote in early October. Throughout this process, we want to make sure that it is our goal to over-communicate with parents, with staff, with community members, and to offer as much transparency and answers to questions that we have answers for. Here's just a short list or some summary of some of the groups that we are intending to get in front of and to lay out these plans and create an exchange, an opportunity to ask questions or share ideas. This is just some of the groups. Certainly, there are others, including a lot of our family and community equity groups that we'd want to get in front of as well, just to make sure that they're tracking these plans. These would be great opportunities to share why we think this is a really healthy change for our school district going forward. And after the meeting tonight, our intent would be to send an email out to all district families, making them aware of this proposal and its timeline. Renee Reedy in our communications office has worked on a webpage that will go up so parents can go and find clear and accurate information. Certainly sharing that information with our staff too as we move through August and the beginning of the school year will be really critically important, because they're going to be a big part of the conversation. Many of them will, in terms of what we want this to look like from a detail standpoint, will be critical as well. And then obviously in our district newsletter, we are hoping and anticipating the local newspaper carrying a piece on this, and certainly partnering with them on that if that's at all helpful, just to help us get the word out so people know that what we're doing and why we think that this is creating new opportunities, exciting opportunities for kids. So again, the proposals passed forth are these right here, transitioning our school district to include a 6-8 3-year comprehensive middle school model and consolidating Forest Lake Elementary and Forest View into one campus, pre-K through grade 5 at the Forest View site. As Chair Raphael said earlier, not about tonight, just an opportunity to get this proposal out in front of you and some of the background behind it, and then answer any questions that you might have. We can do that.
All right, we have a question? One question I would have is that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. One question I had about Forest View, you have the flex spaces identified on here, and looking at some of the class sizes, between 4 sections and 5 sections, you're right on the cusp in a couple of those grade levels where you're right at that sweet spot. Do those flex spaces already have identified purposes, or would those be available if we decide we want to go to a 5th section for 1 or 2 grades to minimize those head count in the classrooms?
Yeah, this number right here, this map was based on what we currently have for sections. So if we needed to do that, again, that would be the work that Scott Ernest would do with him and his team to determine how best to fit another section in if they had a need. I'm looking at the map here and looking at where some of those flex spaces are.
I saw there's like 2 or 3 of them on there, but when I'm looking at
Yeah, so those might be places, yeah, where we could add a section.
So when I look at the proposal, it looks like 4 sections, especially like 4th and 5th grade, you're at 29, 28, the goal is 28. But I mean, that's really, you gain a student or 2, and all of a sudden those classrooms become tougher for the teachers to manage. And I'd hate to see them be hamstrung by size and not be able to accommodate having a reasonable class size.
Yeah, and I think that's right there where you see that flex spaces creates an opportunity for that. Yeah,
So
and
it's
again,
not pre-identified for some other function.
not necessarily, but I will tell you this, is that those spaces do get used by staff, even if we don't have a classroom that goes into them. Yeah. Yeah. But to that point, we don't want to follow a plan that's just going to make our building too full, where we don't have a space for a classroom to go. So a space like that could serve very helpful. You know, another option could be to look at other places in the building where we could add a classroom if we so needed, and we looked at concepts and where that could be. But again, we feel confident that based on our sectioning and our enrollment numbers, we can do it within the spaces that we have.
Thank you.
So, Director, could you give the numbers then to that question? So it's built for 550 and we're at like 502 students with the merge?
Yeah, I think that number is right, but once you look at 6th grade from Forest Lake Elementary going over to the middle school and combining K through 5 from the 2 buildings, the number is just shy of 550.
Okay, that's what I remember reading. I just had a quick question that I was going to ask that evening that we had our presentation. The SPED rooms, they're adequate size, and do they have windows? Does it show on there? Maybe they don't want windows, but I'm just curious. They all have windows? Yeah. Okay. Great.
A couple into a courtyard.
Okay.
But the others are out towards the fields.
Okay, thank you. And I know I had my questions answered, but I just want to reiterate that if we need for Principal Jason, if we need an AP or another counselor down the road, we're going to be looking into that for that merge.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that we'll have to acknowledge is that with more students taking on 6th grade into the middle school, you know, whatever, in addition to certainly the number of teachers and paraprofessionals, other staff that will need to support that number of students in the building, other staff just to meet with students when they have things going on in their life that they need to talk through, or they've made a mistake and they need to go through a little bit of a curriculum conversation there as well. That, yeah, certainly we would look at adding some level of support staff at that building as well, for sure.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions here. The first one I think is really pretty quick. I just kind of did some back of the napkin mathematics on the enrollment numbers across the district, and I know you briefly mentioned we may have to look at redrawing boundaries. I think this is, it becomes very apparent because Forest Lake, the Forest View building will have about 550, where Scandia, I'm seeing about 270 students, or maybe less there. And you mentioned efficiency at 350. We'll have 3 buildings very close to that number. So when do you anticipate you would start doing that?
Yeah, I think that that's a conversation for us to have, as a board and across our cabinet, looking at doing that here, I would say, as we're going through this planning, trying to lay out a timeline for what that looks like, so that, again, parents see that coming. We can create multiple opportunities for parents to come and have conversations and to learn what that looks like. I would say, certainly Dr. Massey, who's not here tonight, would want to weigh in on that, but I don't have a specific timeline, but yeah, fairly soon we would need to do that.
Probably soon. The other question I have might be more for just from the curriculum standpoint, between 6 and 8. I know we saw during our presentation that we had, but we didn't cover it tonight, those expanded opportunities for 6 through 8, what that might look like in that 3-year plan. Can Principal Miller speak to that just briefly here before we wrap things up?
Yeah, and I think as Director Jacobson was kind of alluding to too, part of our timelines kind of moving forward is we really want to make sure that in terms of not losing those gateway experiences, not losing our overall course of study, but maybe giving an opportunity for staff. I would even make there even some student voice in that process as well, to be able to, how are we going to articulate maybe the sequencing of those particular courses, where they may fall 6th grade versus say 8th or 7th grade. We've mocked up numerous iterations, and I think you were kind of alluded to, of just what this may look like in terms of that, just to kind of, almost as Alex did from Cross Anderson to See Doesn't Fit. I think that's going to be an important step that will happen early here throughout September and even October, I would say, to be able to bring some visioning to that and get some thoughts and ideas from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And one of the things that you talked about earlier in your presentation, Principal Miller, is the notion of economies of scale and being what you can offer when you've got more kids in a building. Certainly electives are something that's hard to offer in a 2 or 3 section elementary school. Industrial tech, business, those sorts of courses. We would probably anticipate that becoming part of the new 6th grade experience from an academic standpoint as well.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a couple points that I think people would be interested to know. So I know things are still kind of fluid, but you are planning to keep the 6th grade in a separate wing.
Yeah, that would be our thought at this time,
yeah.
would be, because we benefit from making our middle school feel small and personable and safe, and I've got deep relationships with my teachers. We would want to, in our new concept, pull that same thing off with 6th and 7th and 8th grade all in the same building. That's our current concept. I'd hate to lock us into just that idea. If our staff pulls together and they've got a better or a new idea, we certainly wouldn't discount it right up from the start. But that's currently our thinking on that, would be to have 6th grade in its own wing of the building.
Okay, thank you. And I understand that this, not everything is all factored in, but I think parents might want to know that, especially, what did you call it, the new, if you're new to the middle school, you might want to know that. And then there was also some discussion previously that maybe you could speak to, that some of the content areas, the classes might actually be longer, and that another pro to have, or a positive, I guess you could say, to have 6th grade in the middle school is there be more time in the content areas and more specialization there, which I think parents might also want to know about.
Yeah, I don't want to steal the future excitement too much, because I do think that Principal Miller and his team and our secondary curriculum coordinator, Brad Ward, will want to sit down and lay out what that looks like. It's challenging when you just have a 2-year experience like we currently have had, to be able to offer gateway experiences. These are our kids' first tastes of different career options that they can have. and then electives. We want to be able to do both of those things. And in a 2-year experience, you have to section up the day. There's only a very few number of ways you can do that. But now when you span that over 3 years, now you've got 3 years to pull that off. And so new ideas that you can entertain around making math or science or English longer each day than it has been in the middle school concept in the past. So you can dig really into those concepts. Those things start to open up. And again, that would be the work that Jason and his team could do. So I think that what I will tell you with great certainty is that the academic experience that kids will be coming in to the middle school and with what they're getting, I think parents will be very impressed by.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Well, what I feel about this is, since the 9th grade did move to the high school, leaving that opportunity for this is a natural progression to move 6th grade there, giving them all those great opportunities. And I really appreciate Cross Anderson doing such a deep dive into looking at all the options. I mean, financially, it's the best scenario, saving the district without spending millions of dollars for unnecessary spending, to me. So I thank them for that great deep dive into our buildings and really getting a feel for it. If you look at all the options, it's the best option. So I do appreciate that. It's always hard when you only have one option. You're not sure about the other opportunities. So I do appreciate that. And I think the only thing I question, I know I mentioned that earlier about the licensure for the staffing, and I know that shouldn't be an issue. Can you speak to that as far as their licensure for the staffing going to the middle school, for the 6th grade teachers?
And GPs as well. So the current staffing structure, when we look at licensure, many of our elementary teachers, for example, and some maybe beyond, are licensed K-6. And that's a pretty typical licensure for an elementary teacher. Some have others and additional endorsements. A teacher who is licensed K-6 is afforded the opportunity to teach in a 6A building at the 6th grade level. And also they have the opportunity to teach across a number of different content areas, again, at that 6th grade level, sort of keeping that same flexibility within that. And again, we have teachers at the elementary level who are endorsed at the middle level as well and have other additional endorsements that provide that flexibility. But that does, we have that opportunity.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to speak to the fact that the ability to keep the 6th graders in their own wing, and I'm not saying that that's definitely the way we're going, but I do appreciate that opportunity due to the difference in maturity levels between 6th and 8th graders, and being conscientious of the fact that we do have some 6th graders who will be less mature than others, right, as we come into that one building. And then on the same tone as Member Corcoran, I want to thank Crouse Anderson, because certainly as a construction company, they would be incentivized to push us toward a plan that would create $9 million worth of work, yet they came to us and said this would be your best choice. And so it's a testament to the work that they do, Alex and their team over there, and being a great partner and not necessarily being a self-motivated entity, and I really appreciate that.
They've been incredibly helpful for us. I mean, we do our own deep analysis as educators to make sure that it makes sense. From an academic standpoint, we can do this, and it makes us better, and we can fit it in. And when you've got people who do this work every day for a number of districts, and they agree with you, and again, their financial model would suggest that they give you a different recommendation, but they give you the one that we know is probably the best for us. That's really helpful.
Yeah, and I also want to thank the administration and Dr. Massey and all of the team and the hard work that you guys have done to put this plan together. It takes a lot of hours and research, and there's a lot of components to it, so I appreciate all of that hard work that went into it to bring it here.
I'd just like to expand on the point that Member Corcoran and Member Peterson just made. First of all, with Crouse Anderson, that does show a great deal of integrity. We respect that a lot, and that's how we build partnerships going forward. So thank you to your team. Secondarily, I think we have an opportunity here. We can consolidate, we can cut costs, but most importantly, we can deliver a more robust academic experience to our students. And I don't want to overlook that at all. This is one of the few times where we get the great win, where we spend less money, but we enrich the academics for all the students. So I think we need to keep that in mind as well.
And building off of that, I think we would all agree in this room that our sixth grade in the past and up to this date has been fantastic, and it will be a great sixth grade experience for kids this year as well. It's just, there's been shifting standards and changes outside of our school district that cause this to just make sense to us.
Well, I just want to say thanks to Kraus as well, and it just speaks to that level of trust that our district has with their company. But I think this merge is just really exciting to think of the multifaceted ways in which it enriches the education and the experience for the sixth graders. I also feel like it follows our strategic plan and one of our focus areas. So I'm glad that those gateway paths are in place and they can take advantage of that autonomy of thinking of what electives they want, as well as being taught by teachers in that subject matter for their core curriculum. So I'm super excited. I want to thank Kraus. That was a deep, deep dive, especially having looking at our building that was retrofitted for other programs as well, but you did a great job with that. And thanks to the administration, like Jeff said, this has been done in a conscientious and very constructive manner, working with the retired demographer, and so it's just a well laid out plan, and I hope other people can be as excited as I am. So thank you.
Yeah, I think for my part, I mean, as a board, we've long been concerned about the, the student counts going down because of demographic changes, and but I think in our heart that we are all about academics and making sure that every student who comes through our door is a ranger and gets a great education meant for them, right? And so that how do we take these changing demographics, keep our our belief in high achievement for our kids, and at the same time, keep this community model that we love, right? The fact that we've got our community schools like Forest Lake and Forest View and Scandia and Linwood and Lino, all these schools, they're the heart of their communities, right? So, I mean, that's the thing I really like about this proposal, because it hits both of those things. How we look at ourselves as a community school and how we look at what a student comes out of this district with when they grab their diploma. So I really appreciate that, and I do actually have a question. If somebody is curious about the proposal, and the proposal obviously is subject to change, but if they're interested in it, where can they find information on what we're trying to do?
Yeah, so a message is going to go out tonight to families, and hopefully we draw people to our district website, where we're going to have a lot of this information up on our district website. Certainly they're always welcome to call if they have questions beyond that. We enjoy that conversation and getting their ideas or perspective or their questions or their excitement, any of those things. But we'll have a district website that will have this up, ready to go. And I believe that will be up by fairly soon, if not tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, Member Chair, one more quick question. On the community engagement meetings, will there be flexibility to add more if we feel that we've gone through those and there might be more that are being requested?
Oh, for sure. I wouldn't even look at that list and say that's the full list.
Okay.
These are just a number that have already come to mind, and we could fit on a slide. But yeah, again, we would certainly try to get out and get in front of people, talk this through, answer questions, try to convey excitement in this notion. What I've said to others is that a lot of school districts spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in order to move their sixth graders into our school district, and rarely does declining enrollment create opportunities for you. But I think in this case, it does for us, and so we can do that for little to no cost.
We're fortunate. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, 9.2, first reading, the recommendation to approve the 2025-2026 academic calendar. Dr. Jacobs.
Yes, so again, thank you for letting me speak to this item. What you have there in front of you is the proposal for the 25-2026 calendar. We typically try to publish for our community a calendar at least 12 months out in advance. So this obviously isn't the calendar for the school year that we're entering into, but for the year after. It follows pretty much all of our calendar-related principles that we have done in the past, including starting after Labor Day, having a week off for spring break, the second week of March, and getting out in early June. Helpful here is in the fall of 2025, that's actually the earliest that Labor Day will ever fall. It falls on September 1st that year, which is helpful in having the end of the school year happen early. So the last day with students would be Thursday, June 4th. Last day with staff would be Friday, June 5th. And again, this is a first reading on this, so I know that you'll have an opportunity to look at and review, and this we'll bring back for a second reading here in the beginning of September. Conversely, sometimes we pass these things 2 years at a time, but we want to spend a little bit more time on the following year, 26, 27, because unlike this year, Labor Day starts as late as it possibly can in that year. It's actually Monday, September 7th, which then makes for kind of a late end to the school year. So if we follow that same pattern of starting after Labor Day, which we've long done, and years that we're not doing significant construction, we would have a later year there, later ending. So we want to spend more time with our district leadership and the board on that one. So we're not prepared to bring that one before you tonight, but for our first reading, but certainly the 25-26 calendar, we want to get that one in front of you so you can absorb that and then look at that next month for possible approval.
All right, thank you. And with that, could everybody please review the upcoming calendar dates, and do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Right, we're adjourned.